Blessed and wonderful evening, beautiful people. Happy second Sunday in Easter, where it is celebrated as Divine Mercy Sunday, where we focus on Jesus bringing peace to fearful hearts, inviting us to trust in His mercy rather than our doubts. Like Thomas, we are invited to move from doubt to faith by encountering the risen Lord whose wounds has represented love and forgiveness. Yes. Not just suffering, but also God's understanding with us to undertake the longest part of the journey in the looking out for us and having our pierced heart of Jesus, demonstrating just how long that journey truly is. God does not measure His mercy to us by a teaspoon, but rather by His overpour like an ocean. This is what the feast wants us to understand, and this is what we are called to live, trusting in Jesus despite not seeing Him physically. Yes. So that's our wonderful reflection for today. Welcome to another episode of Stay Inspired with Shaw. Come right in. The water is always warm here. Yes, come right in. Come right in. You could also state in the comments this afternoon where you're tuning in from on this lovely Sunday. Yes, come right in. Yes, we have Florida. Miss Nettie, come right in. We have Tony, come right in. We have Washington, D.C. in the house. Come right in. Yes, state where you're tuning in from on this lovely Sunday. This is a special episode today where we'll have an invited guest, which I'll be introducing in just a moment. You also, yes, come right in. You can see you all. You can state where you're tuning in from. Welcome Trinidad, nice to have you. Come right in. Yes, if you're watching live, you can drop an L in the comments, and if you're on the replay, you can definitely drop an R. Yes, come right in. Yes, welcome Miss Mortz. Welcome Trinidad is in the house. Nice to see you. Happy Sunday. Come right in. And if you're tuning into the replay, you can definitely drop an R. Don't be shy now. Yes, beautiful people, come right in. It's always my pleasure having each and every one of you all tuned in with me. You know why? Because you matter and mean a lot. Yes, you do. And for those who may not know me and tuning in for the very first time to Stay Inspired with Shaw, I'm Charlene Lewis, your inspirational host and well-being coach, helping Christians and others who struggle with their spirituality with God to go from being challenged to being inspired, helping them grow infinitely and spiritually, so that they can be fulfilled, become the best icon version of themselves. Yes, that's what I do. Come right in. So if you're struggling to understand your God-given purpose or even your spirituality, it is my passion to inspire all of you and share these amazing insights, helping you to develop your purposeful self, to gain more clarity with those inner thoughts you may have, identifying your strengths and overcoming those obstacles you may be facing at the moment, tapping into your inner motivation and inner desires and values. Okay, beautiful people? Yes, come right in. This is episode 90, and today we have a phenomenal financial professional advisor as our guest. Yes, he's a man of God, a money mastery coach, who is also creator of the Dollar and Cents podcast, hosted on Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern United States time. Yes, and well, our time is on their border right now, so we are also at 5:30 p.m. here. And well, today on my podcast it's 5 p.m. His mission is to inspire and lead essentially and financially individuals to be responsible and to grow in their finances and investments in their daily lives. So I, would bring to the stage, I will welcome this gentleman of the moment, Mr. Anthony Smith, also known as Tony the Voice. Yes. So, Mr. Smith, did you make the call?
Yes, I had. I made it. Good
Oh,
seeing you this
welcome,
evening.
welcome, welcome to Stay Inspired with Share, Mr. Smith. It's nice to have you on. How are you
Nice.
today?
I'm doing good, doing real good.
Great, great. So I was just telling the audience it would be an honor having you on this topic today at Stay Inspired with Shaw. And to live throughout the world, we must use finances and stuff like that. So it's your um, key component, it's your mastermind of what you are. So please tell the audience who is Anthony Smith, also known as Tony the Voice.
Well, where do I start? I am a native Washingtonian. Uh, I have worked many years in my past in criminal justice and in the federal government. I've always been a public servant, person who has been in a position to serve other people, attempt to encourage and help them to restructure their lives, to gain a foothold in society, and at the same time being an encourager and a resource specialist in directing them to portals that are going to uplift them and help them to advance in their particular situation. I am a widower, married almost 40 years. I am a grandfather, father of two, grandfather of two, uh, eldest of 8 children, and have a lot of support within my family. We thrive on not only being there for one another in good times, but also being supportive and encouraging and instrumental in helping build the bridge so that they too can advance in our everyday endeavors. Um, I'm in my 8th decade, so I think I'm A certified as a senior citizen, and I bring a wealth of experiences to the table in any quest that I take to give people some word of wisdom from my vantage point. One of the things that I have really enjoyed doing in these past, I'd say 10 plus years, is to pursue personal development. I don't think that regardless of age, you're ever too old not to learn. And I think that because things are advancing as rapidly as they are today, that we try to stay upfront and tread more than water when it comes to learning and utilizing the skills that are going to help us live a quality life, a decent life, until it's time for us to go home.
That's so awesome. And as I say, I tell the audience it's an honor having you today on Stay Inspired with Shaw. And I know you have a lot to share with us about financial health and wealth. And we're all excited to hear all these strategies and concepts. So I would start by asking you, Mr. Smith, what is the best way to track our finances to ensure that expenses don't exceed our income, which includes our wants, our needs, and our savings? What would you advise us on that?
I would advise everyone that it is extremely important to have a budget. What is a budget? A budget is a means whereby you track monies that you have, monies that are coming in, as well as monies that you spend, those monies that are going out. You're also tracking monies that you set aside to save. You're also tracking monies that you would have that you're saving for emergencies, building up that rainy day fund, and getting so good at it so that you have even extra monies down the road that you might be able to invest. Invest in ways that you identify and that you've sat down and planned, explored, asked questions about, such that they grow even faster than where they would be in a normal brick and mortar type of institution.
Oh, that's super great.
Yes, and I also remember, difference it have that 50-20 or 50 40
Hmm.
10 rule. And, you know, people still use it, for the cash flows, and it helps. Um,
Yes.
it really
Yeah.
prevents you from exceeding your income. So I do agree,
Hmm.
definitely, with what you have offered here with that question. So I will go on to ask you now, Mr. Smith, what is the best way to handle unexpected expenses? Uh, for instance, medical expense. We can't prevent these things. What is the best way to handle those?
The best way to handle them would be, if at all possible, to take preventive measures that would be in position to embrace those emergencies that come up. Let's say your child falls and sprains an ankle, and it's severe enough that you have to go to the hospital or to an emergency room to have it serviced. Those medical expenses can be just that, expensive. So if you're in a position, particularly if you're working and they offer some form of health insurance, whereby monies that you pay toward it would offset costs that you would receive when you are seeking the medical services for your child or even other health concerns for yourself, that would be the best way. Um, some communities actually have insurances that can be secured based on your level of income. I'm not certain about Trinidad and Tobago because I know that certain things that had been in place in the past are temporarily suspended in light of the decline in income coming in, and certain things are beyond control. I'm aware of that. But I would say insurance is the best way. And the other thing that I would say is that in your quest to save monies, think of categorizing that as being a fund. Even if it's not enough to pay the total bill, hopefully what you have been able to save would used in a way where it would be able to cut out a portion, if not a significant portion, of the expense that has been incurred.
I really like those points, Mrs. Smith. Um, Especially when you said, for us here, I'm glad you included Trinidad and Tobago.
Mhm.
The level of income sometimes is one of the things that is challenging. So,
Mhm.
that's a great cushion uh, to use those type of strategies that we just offered.
Mhm.
I like that. So, what is the difference though between good credit and bad credit? I've been hearing a lot about it. Good credit, yeah, good credit and bad credit. What is the best way to manage both?
The best way and the ideal way would be to always make it a point to spend within your means. And while we all pray that we are able to do that, we also know that life gets in the way. And when it gets in the way, we find ourselves in situations where there is more month than money. That being the case, it's best to number one, strive to have a good credit score, regardless of how much money you make. And that simply means that you're in a position where you pay your bills. When you talk about a healthy credit score, it falls into one of three categories. And one of the things that I researched, particularly when it came to Trinidad and Tobago, was that good credit score, which is usually the norm in Western Hemisphere, is anything that is a score of 720 and above. Okay. An okay or average credit score could fall between 680 and 720. And a poor credit score is going to be anything below 680. Now, why are these numbers important? Simply because the better your credit score, the better you are positioned to take advantage of borrowing monies that are going to give you favorable rates. The person that has an excellent credit score will get more favorable rates than those that just have an average score and those that have a very poor score. Average score credit people will be able to secure monies, but the interest rate is going to be a little bit high. And when it comes to those that are fair to poor, it's going to be extremely difficult to get a loan or borrow monies because they are seen as persons who are most likely not to be able to repay their borrowed monies. If they do come across persons who are willing or who, let's say, um, are in the business of lending monies to poor creditors, it will be at such an increased interest rate that it will be almost impossible to pay it back without falling further and deeper into debt. And so I would say that those that play upon persons who are dealing with poor credit are predators. And if at all possible, try to stay away from them because they are in business to literally take your money because they know you won't be able to pay it back.
Right. Those are really wonderful strategies and key components. I love how you put it across and, letting us know that we need to be aware of the predators out there because there are a lot of scams and hackings and all the different things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very important that, to prevent. Would you say investing in wealth building is beneficial to individuals? For instance, like mutual bonds, stocks, even insurance. I know you mentioned insurance before, so I know that is one for sure. What do you say? Is that beneficial for individuals?
I think it is beneficial to individuals, particularly as they are planning long term, whether they're single or married or just have taken upon themselves to be responsible for down the road, possibly leaving a legacy of things of that nature. What is important, however, is that for those who are at the first step, which is making sure that we can design and develop a budget that is going to work for that particular individual and that family. It's always important, I think, to be very clear on your short-term goals as well as your long-term goals. I would say that when it comes to legacy or when it comes to the bonds and things of that nature, it really depends at the onset where you are positioned. If you are a person, let's say, who is making high income, you might be able to think in terms of the bonds and other types of opportunities you'd be able to take care of, as opposed to, let's say, a person who's a regular working man, making money to make ends meet, not really saving, being in a position to save a lot of monies at this time, but is able and smart enough and wise enough to know that I've got to put away some monies for rainy day, for emergencies. When the individual, wherever he is in a position whereby they know rainy day monies, I'm doing well, I'm consistent, and I'm still able to put monies toward that. Emergency monies, same situation. When I'm able to put money toward that. And when, let's say, as I get advance or increase on my job, or I get a promotion or a new position, I have even more monies to set aside. Then I would say you can start building up that investment pool of funds, whereby now you can take advantage of, getting and taking advantage of some of these other opportunities. Also, keep in mind this, that there are some jobs and corporations and businesses that will, as an employee, advise you that you have these opportunities, that in some cases they will match whatever you decide to invest. That would make it even easier on the individual, where they're not coming out of their own pocket all alone, but working in concert with the business or corporation that they have to be working with to get involved in those type of situations sooner.
I agree, and I'm sure our audience would agree too. That's the way we should have our money to work for us, and those are very good points. And you know, going through life to know how to make it work for us. And what you've stated, some really good point is that we should pay attention to. What can you tell our audience about good credit health? and educating and understanding the use of financial products, such as probably credit cards or even taking loans. What would you have to say about that? Is that a
I would
good
say
thing?
it is a good thing. And I think that in part, it may come down to where you actually do your financial business. Um, I know as here in Trinidad and Tobago, you have banks and you also have credit unions. Banks primarily are designed to make profit for its shareholders. And so persons who rely and who are inclined to primarily use banks have monies that they can put in the bank, but they also have, I think, in mind the concept of making sure that the monies that they put in are going to generate more revenue for them. So they are inclined to even put more and more monies in depending on how much they are going to secure. For the everyday person, for a lot of people who are working, maybe even struggling to put and make ends meet, the credit union may in fact be more ideal for them because the credit union is nonprofit. The credit union is set up to actually help persons that put their monies in to get a leg up, to provide them with the type of services that are going to give them more insight and more knowledge as to how they can best prepare for rainy days and emergencies, but at the same time, put them in a position where they can start even saving monies in different categories and not be penalized, not have to worry about paying taxes on it because the monies that they're actually putting in are going into those particular areas where they may be most needed. At the same time, it's important for persons who actually are in credit unions to realize that you are actually being helped because as a nonprofit, the credit union is extending its benefits to you directly. They come by way of low interest rates when it comes to borrowing. It comes by high interest rates by way of what you actually have in the particular credit union. And it is run by persons who are members and owners like yourself, the person that's in the credit union. So that's a win-win in many ways for persons who are trying to get a leg up and persons who, even though they may not be in a position right now to fulfill that dream or even pursue that dream, it can put them in a position where they can get a leg up and to get regimented so that they can, at some point, be able to establish and achieve that goal that they have.
So that is great and important that, as you say, and in Trinidad and Tobago, we use, as you say, more the credit unions. It's more flexible for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the bank is good too, but the bank, as you just said, I agree, they
Mm-hmm.
more gain on us to gain that profit.
Mm-hmm.
But the credit union has both gain and they also gain. So it is a win-win situation for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we should know how to utilize, both, whether you're in the bank or the credit union, depending on what business you do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. That's a great point that you brought up there. I like that. What are your thoughts, Tony, regarding early financial education? Should it be implemented in schools and colleges for the younger generation to prevent debt traps, to build a better foundation in their adulthood? What do you think about that?
I really believe that it is extremely necessary, and the earlier, the better. That is a situation that is not only impacting Trinidad and Tobago, but also the United States, and I would say other countries around the world, that while families all desire to have a stable existence to grow and for the kids to mature, this whole element of money has really, really impacted us in ways that we feel like we've never felt before. And sadly, I say that while you have people that are concerned here, the devastation in Trinidad and Tobago is even more devastating because you're not dealing with what we call GDP, which is the amount of money set aside to actually ensure that things will be able to sustain itself based on projections made by government. 2026 for, I know Trinidad and Tobago was one where they were dealing with a deficit, one in which this year they want to decrease that deficit in ways which will increase taxes. Now, getting back to financing the financial literacy piece, I say this, that the earlier it can be introduced, the better. And the first place to introduce it would be in the home. I would suggest that there are many different groups and ethnic groups around the world that have, in fact, introduced certain concepts that we can apply, that can be applied in the home, provided that there is a mindset between mothers and dads to be consistent in what they expose their kids to. Let me give you an example. One is what I call and what has been shared around the country is what I call the 3-jar concept, concept. One in which there's a jar for sharing, there's a jar for spending, and there's a jar for savings. If, let's say, just for example's sake, there's $1 that a child is going to get for an allowance, let's just say every 2 weeks, 25% goes into the sharing jar, 50% into the spending jar, and savings jar is 25%. You want to help the child to understand that while you have monies, to make sure you take care of yourself and to get some of the things that you might like and that you might want or need, there's also a reason to be empathetic for persons who don't have. And I'm sure that children, first and foremost, can see among their friends or people that they like, so-and-so, doesn't necessarily have the same things I have. And even though I may not have everything I like, I know that his situation is worse than mine. If there's some way to help him or her, then you want to instill that type of mindset at an early age. So with these 3 jars, quarter goes into the sharing, 50 cents goes into the spending, and a quarter goes into savings. What's the whole idea? That at some point, the parents are going to help this child to make it a point to give the money in that sharing jar towards some cause. That cause can be identified, whether it's something that has to do with the church, some community, nonprofit, some support group. The child knows, hey, I've got monies for this, and this is what this money is set aside for. Spending. Spending jar is for things that child might like, and that's okay. He sees things, Mom, Dad, I like this, I might like that, and it costs so-and-so. Well, let's talk about it. Is it a good idea to get it now, or maybe should we wait? Then you run into situations where, hey, kids get accustomed to that, and then they start seeing more and more things that they may want to buy. It's going to, at some point, cause a dilemma. Now, for little kids, it's okay. But when your kid starts to get a little older, he's now, let's say, first grade, second grade, and he's more exposed, more advanced, more inclined to know how to spend monies, there will come a time when there's a serious dilemma. Because it's something he really sees or she sees that they cannot afford. This is where the parents have an opportunity to further discuss this want or whether or not it's even a need, and share with the kids, it might be a good idea to get it, but when you look at your spending jar, you don't have enough money. How are you going to pay for it? I haven't thought about it because I've only got X amount of dollars. This is where the parents who are serving as the bank, who are also serving as the guiding force to help this child understand the savings, the spending, and the sharing, can step in and say, well, let's talk about maybe being able to get what you want. You've got $20 in your discretionary fund account, and what you want costs $30. Suppose Mommy and I are willing to give you $20 toward the purchase. You use 10 and not use all the monies that you had in your discretionary account, and we pay for it. But after we get this, you know that you're going to have to pay that money back. And on paying that money back, it's going to be just like if you had borrowed it from the bank. You pay the money bank, you pay the money back. But just like the money is going to, that you put in your savings is going to give you interest, now you got to pay interest on what you borrowed. You're teaching several things here. Primarily what you're teaching this particular child is that giving, that's a responsibility because I'm in a position to give. Discretionary fund, I'm in a position to get some of the things that I like. And there may be times when I see something that I really like that would benefit me down the road that I cannot necessarily pay for on my own. Borrowing. If I borrow the monies, then I've got to be responsible for making sure I pay those monies back. And just like a bank would be using my monies to pay interest on what I put in, I've got to pay interest for what I borrow back. This covers a number of areas because one, it teaches not only critical thinking, it also teaches a child patience. It teaches a child that, hey, there are going to be times where there's going to be conflict in what I want. And I'm going to have to really sit down and figure out how I'm going to get it. It teaches them about not only making deposits, but also borrowing. Okay. It also teaches them even more about interest. If this is something that is consistently done, say up until the time the child is 10 years old, I think he's got financial literacy down pat. Now it's just a matter of making sure that in a system that is going to further provide him with literacy, he or she can now utilize that particular information and put it into those 3 jars on a more sophisticated level. And hopefully by the time that child is an adult, he or she will not fall into some of the trappings that us old folks have fallen into because we didn't know how to manage money. It will teach the value of money. It will provide them, I think, with a leg up that maybe many of us in society did not have and had to learn the hard way.
Wow, these are some awesome key points that you shared with us. And I like that, you agree that it should start with preschoolers into college goers because, you know, sometimes the younger generation, they're not responsible enough. So this can teach them to be more responsible. And it wouldn't just be centered around adults.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. I like those key concepts that you shared with us about, the pre-jar concept and all of that. You can start doing that at home. And when you go out, it'll be easier for you to manage your funding or if you have to save in business. So I like that. I like that those concepts. And I agree, as you say, it was a taught. If it should be, it's a good concept to have for preschoolers and the college goers. Do you think, Tony, employers should have financial education as well, like programs, workshops for the employees, coaching them how is the best way or what is the best way to utilize their finances and benefits? For instance, their retirement plans or even their taxes. Because we have a lot of companies out there that, don't sensitize their employees and, sometimes, especially contract workers, they, lose sometimes. What do you think about that?
I think it is a very good idea for those employees that are in a position where they can provide their employees with opportunities to best prepare for retirement, to take advantage of other avenues where they would be able to not only, let's say, save money, but to find situations where if they invest portions of their money, the company or corporation will match it. Those are situations where I think they were probably more plentiful yesterday than we're coming to find them today. So if a person is in that particular situation, I would say, yes, take advantage of it. I think, however, that there are 2 things that are happening that interfere with certain places and certain companies to, actually actively, I should say, make that a reality. One, technology has gotten to the point where people are too often trying to catch up. And because they're trying to catch up, there is this dilemma based on what I was accustomed to doing versus the new golden rules of finance and working with money. Um, the systems are trying to get away from physical money. Everything now is digital. And because of that, people find themselves in a dilemma. Corporations and other places are realizing that, hey, I don't have to deal with them, what they call the minutia, so to speak, because now I can digitally do the same things. And at the same time, insist that my employees and everyone else fall in line. It's not by accident that we have these different, I would say, decentralization of brick and mortar buildings, be they credit unions or banks, that are spreading out now because they also want people to deal with the technological end of doing business. And so with that said, I think we must embrace a reality whereby it's a new day, number one. Number two, we have to make sure that whether our employee provides us with these opportunities or not, we have a responsibility to try to learn as much as we can to put ourselves in a position where we want to gain leverage, but in order to gain leverage, I have to be somewhere where I can actually find out and learn what's going on. Community forums, I think, lend themselves to that. Credit unions lend themselves to that because credit unions are in the business of working with the owner shareholder in the credit union. And any other endeavor that is able to also extend that financial learning curve to adults. Working adults need to learn this, and in some cases, depending on how much financial literacy some of the children are getting and being exposed to at an early age, they too can assist in that effort to make the whole financial situation better. It's a family affair, and I think whether it comes from the top down or works from the bottom up, it's something that I think all of us need to be open and receptive to. Learning different ways, learning different skills, learning how we've turned the page now, and we're now on a page where many things that we're dealing with, and particularly with our monies, is being generated by technology.
Those are great key points, Tony. I like that. And, you know, having that knowledge and, being literate about your financing in your workplace is so important. You know where you stand if something happens. And some financial institutions and businesses, they carry unions because of that. Because sometimes their employees are taken advantage of. So they have to have some strong, a legal body to support them to make sure they get their rights. So what you said, those are great key points, to help with employees' financial health and their wealth. Yeah, the literacy is so important in the workplace. How can educating employees about generational wealth break the cycle of bad debts of current generations to encourage our children's future generations to best create and build a better financial legacy? What would you say about that?
I would say that what I mentioned before about introducing financial literacy in the home at an early age is a beginning. And I say it's a beginning only because while the focus on the child is the primary objective of the mom and dad, it also suggests that they too realize how important this really is, not just for the child, but also for mom and dad. And so if mom and dad are taking the lead to teach the child, parents are already responsible for household income. Being responsible for household income means it is my responsibility. It is our responsibility to make sure that we are beating down every bush and trying to find out as much as we can about what we don't know with regard to not only budgeting, but finances. It's about making sure that we have put ourselves in a position where we can't just settle for what everybody else has settled for yesterday. This is a new day. And being a new day, I've got to raise the bar and raise the bar to a point where I'm willing to take whatever actions are necessary to climb over that bar. So it's twofold. And I think sometimes when parents take on the parental responsibility, that in itself gives an incentive for them to do better. Because all parents, when bringing children into the world, for the most part, have a mindset that they want their situation for their child better for them than better for the child than it was for them. When you talk about the legacy piece, I say this and I say it with all sincerity. Number one, short-term goals are extremely important. I dare say that short-term goals are much greater than long-term goals. Why? Because when a person is able to develop the short-term goals, and I'll go all the way back to budgeting. Number one, if a person is struggling, the goal is to make sure I stop struggling. So you keep working at it, working at it, working at it, cutting some fat here, refining some things there until, wow, now it's working. So we got this system operational and it's moving. And in doing this, there may be some bumps in the road down the way, down the road, because hey, we had an emergency last month that we hadn't planned for. But now, because we had some rainy day fund, it didn't hurt us as much as it would have had we not had it. And now, as you start learning from your successes, you start learning from your failures. Okay, you change your mindset because your thinking is different. You come to realize that hey, it's not so much now that I fail and beat myself up as much as it is, if no more than by example of your child and what you're sharing with him or her, that when you fail, you're failing forward. You're putting yourself in a position where you can stop now, sit back, think about what happened. Where did this car turn off the road and cause me to fail? And once you realize where you should have gone left instead of right, you can backtrack and see now, well, what happens if we take this different trail? This different trail, based on what I know, is a point where I need to stop, sit, what are the situation, what are the circumstances, and for this particular circumstance, go right. Learn from them, get back on track. Make your failures part of your skill set, part of your mindset, part of your tool set, where couldn't use it at this stage of my financial progression, but down the road I might be able to. Each short-term success builds on success over time. A lot of it is not really exciting. A lot of it seems to be behind the curtains, if you will. But each step is progress. And progress is what the name of the game is when you talk about trying to achieve legacy. Legacy is way down the road. And since it's way down the road, we've got a lot of small steps to make until we get there. But those short steps turn into taking even more steps. Short steps over time with knowledge become long steps. Long steps accelerate into getting you to where you want to be faster than you started. And as time goes on, as the vision becomes clearer, and as you start making the adjustments that you want to make, because now you have grown and developed yourself, you'll be able to achieve those milestones that you set out some time back. It didn't happen overnight. It's been an effort. And it's been an effort where if you be consistent, if you do what you're supposed to do, you focus, you don't tell everybody what your long-term dreams are, and you have your inner circle that is supportive of you and willing to assist you. And that not only includes, let's say, within the household, but those specialists and resources in your community that are going to give you real information to get there. It will work out.
Wow, that is some good, valuable insights you have shared there. And I totally agree. Financial wisdom goes all the way long term. So, it's very important, in our daily lives to keep that generation to generation wisdom, to build that legacy. So I really like those points that you shared. It's really, really great. Um, for families, small businesses, and once it's long term, I really
Hmm.
do like. What are your thoughts, Tony, about understanding and taking advantage of our financial products to protect against fraud or even predatory lending? To avoid scams, hacking, those different
Hmm.
things. Everybody sometimes, once it's involved money, sometimes we have these little, negativities behind it. What do you think about that?
I think two things. I think that society at large is now saturated with people who take all of their energy to scheme and to take from you what you have worked for, your hard-earned monies, because something just either seems unbelievable or too good to be true. A rule of thumb has been in the past: if it's too good to be true, it's probably not. How do you protect yourself from that? I would say this: that rather than to jump at the first suggestion that's made that this can be done, do your research, ask questions, not only of that particular solicitor who's trying to gain your favor and your trust, but also people that you know who also may have experienced this, who may have some history before you based on what you're giving consideration to. I would say if you have access to the internet, Google that particular um, business or interest and find out whether or not, and just put one thing in there, put the name in there and put scam or legit. Now, it may not seem like something that important, but I say this, particularly for the elders. You reach a certain point in life and you think, hey, I've lived a good life and I want to continue to live a good life, and something comes across your screen on the internet and do this. It'll help you with this ailment. It'll help you with that ailment. You can grow hair. You can do so many things. And people say, hey, I want to look for youthful. Let me give them my credit card and this, that, and the other, only to find out down the road one of two things. You get the product, it doesn't work. Or you get the product, and what you're now on is automatic subscription. So they're taking your monies on and on and on and on. And where you were so excited to get it at the front end, you finally find it extremely difficult to get off of that roller coaster because you've got to jump through hoops, and ultimately, at some point, you get off. But with all the money that they have gotten before they've let you go, that's pretty much equates with what you're saying. People are being manipulated. So first, do your research. Two, if you're dealing with a financial specialist, and I think you can find certain information from your credit union or from some community-based institution that's geared toward helping people to make wiser decisions, that you get sound advice from them. If you have people in the household that are doing well, or it's people within extended family that are doing well, get advice from them. It's good to take healthy risk. You don't want to take reckless risk. And let's face it, with many of these different businesses out there, especially internet businesses, it is a multi-trillion-dollar business. We don't even have to go on the internet, I think, sometimes to see that, hey, when you turn on the news, some things have happened. He said, they got away with that. Yeah, they did. And it's always important, I think, too, when it comes to money. If you're dealing with any entity that is basically generating a lot of activity, but it's not regulated, there are no rules regarding with whether or not the money is going to be guaranteed. There are no checks and balances in place to make sure that whatever you've invested, you'll at least get back your return. I'd say run for the hills, run away from it.
Yeah, I know our audience definitely agree with these points, these great points that you have shared, you know, because we got to pay attention.
Yes.
And as you say, we need to do the research. And you said something that I didn't think about or think it could have been done when you you're doing your research or you're going on Google or whatever for the business or the interest, you could put after it if it's a scam or if it's legit. I would never think about, putting that there. I would have just probably Google the business to see if it's legit. But to be specific, put it that here, it will probably come up with a even faster, better answer for you to know. So, as I say, I'm very sure that our audience appreciate these pointers that you're given. It's really, really awesome what you're sharing with us this evening.
Well, Sean, I just
So,
want to say,
go
thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. And it's been my pleasure to share with you the information that I have.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. So, Tony, I have just one more question for you. If you'd allow, I wish I could have you on all afternoon. This is going so good. All these advice, all these pointers, all this literacy that is happening today. So appreciative that what you're sharing.
Okay. Thank
What
you.
advice would you give our audience about leveraging? I know you talked about it earlier in one or two of your responses. What do you think about leveraging technology, like using those online apps and even digital banking? Do you see it as a positive way to monitor or track our financial health real time?
I think it is. I think also, however, that it should be done in a way where you can get the necessary support to navigate the technology. Again, I turn primarily to the credit unions. They would sit down with you to show you how to utilize the tools that they provide, and also show you and give you cues as to, the advantages you could take should you decide one way or the other to take advantage of the different products that they have. And once you start seeing how these things work, then I think you can start looking in terms of whether or not technology can provide you with other opportunities outside of the brick and mortar being the building where the bank does business or the credit union does business. You can look outside of that to determine whether or not you might be able to get even a higher yield if you transferred some of the monies that maybe you've set aside for savings from the brick and mortar to put into some other type of environment. And I'm talking there about, electronic environments. Just like I said before, with other, types of programs that come along, there are some good ones out there that primarily deal with electronic banking. But I think that's something that a person should take into consideration only after they have gained experience working with electronic banking associated with the brick and mortar that they're with now.
Wow. So that is also great what you just said, because this is a fast-paced world and we have to be on point monitoring everything.
We do.
Yeah, real time. So, using these technology that we have now, you just have to know what you're doing before you do it to get through it. So some great pointers, advice and guidance you're giving us to use technology going thus far for your daily life. So folks, you have heard it today, and today's topic: raising our financial literacy and empowering ourselves as individuals to have financial independence. Mr. Smith has shared so many valuable insights. He has dropped bombs. He has given diamonds. I must say thank you for this. Going forward, I know using these pointers, we will have good financial health, So from no other than our financial professional and coach, Mr. Tony Smith, the voice. Then I want to really say thank you. It was really an honor having you on Stay Inspired with Shaw this afternoon. I mean, you have really done vast beyond with our audience today. I'm seeing in the comments that, you know, this should have been a masterclass. They enjoyed it, got so much value. You have done a great job sharing all these insights with us this evening. And I want to say I appreciate that. I appreciate you. So
Thank
thanks for
you.
sharing your thoughts,
Mhm.
insights on this wonderful topic. And it gave great impact, helping individuals learn about financial strategies and the different key components in managing their finances and how to maintain generational wealth and financial health and, you know, all these things
Mhm.
effectively in their daily lives. So again, thank you for that.
Okay.
And our audience, as I say, they are blowing up the chat. They really like what you offered. And what I want you to do, you could probably let the audience know
Mhm.
where they can view you on your media. You can probably tell them where you can see a podcast so they can tune in themselves to get more information if they like, follow you on the different topics.
Okay. Well, I have a weekly podcast like yourself, the Dollars and Cents podcast, that is hosted on Wednesday evenings, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And on that particular podcast, usually for about 30 minutes, we talk about a range of topics that are geared toward helping people, again, design their own budget and to manage their monies more successfully. Um, I can be found on Facebook, Anthony Smith. On Instagram, I am the Anthony Smith Podcast. And on YouTube, I am the Anthony Smith Podcast. And so this coming Wednesday, I will be hosting the Dollars and Cents podcast where I will share other golden nuggets that hopefully people will be able to use.
We're grateful for that. I'm sure most of us will be tuning in, those who know you and those who are new uh, on this evening's program, on this evening's podcast. They will be probably excited to tune in to hear more about what you have to offer. And, you know, because it really fosters great knowledge, having literacy long term. It's really a great foundation for all of us. So I want to thank you again for tuning in and stay blessed and wonderful as you are. And hopefully that we have another program again or even a masterclass because I see that's a demand on the chat that it
Mhm.
should be a masterclass. So I want to give kudos to you on what you have offered this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank
So,
you.
yes, you're very welcome. So have a great evening. Until next time. So, bye for now. Bye. So, audience, I will close as usual with my quotes that I normally do at the end of my um, podcast program with my inspirational and spiritual quote matches our topic today, which says, wealth gained hesitantly will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 11. Another is seeking godly counsel before making major financial decisions is advised. Proverbs again, chapter 15, verse 22. So those who have missed this wonderful, amazing, phenomenal episode this afternoon, I want to thank you. Um, you know, for those who are on, and if you wish to watch on the replay, you can view it on um, Anthony's page as well as my page. I'm Stay Inspired with Shah on IG, and you can Yes, I got a little, yes. So thank you again. As I said, if you miss the live podcast, you can view the replay on my YouTube channel on Charlene Lewis 568. You could subscribe, follow, and share on my channel. And also on my page on Stay Inspired with Shaw. Those who are following my page already and those who are new, you can follow me there to get the replay. You could also get the update on Tony's page too. He's also on IG. That's Anthony Smith. So you could follow him there too to also get his uh, valuable information. So again, have a great afternoon and thanks for tuning in. And remember, Child loves you. Bye for now.